The crystalline towers of Nexus Prime gleamed under the light of twin suns, their surfaces reflecting the cold brilliance of power that had ruled 47 star systems for over 3,000 years. Within the Aurora, Earth's diplomatic transport vessel, Ambassador Jake Morrison gazed through the viewport at the sprawling citadel of the Galactic Council. His weathered face, marked by decades of interstellar negotiations, betrayed nothing of the tension building within. "Orbital approach confirmed," announced the ship's pilot. "Nexus Prime has granted docking privileges at Central Embassy Port." "Good," Jake replied, turning to his companions. "Let's hope this meeting goes better than I expect." Beside him stood Deputy Ambassador Lisa Carter, her sharp eyes scanning the datapad containing their briefing materials. Her expertise in galactic politics had proven invaluable in preparing for this summit. On Jake's other side, Colonel Ben Hayes maintained a military posture, his hand never straying far from his ceremonial sidearm, a gesture more symbolic than practical. 200 years, Lisa murmured, still reading through diplomatic protocols. "That's all the time we've had among the stars, and already they're trying to clip our wings." "The Council's been uneasy since we developed quantum propulsion," Ben added, his voice low and gravelly. "They don't like species advancing faster than their timetables permit." Jake nodded grimly. "Well, let's hear what they have to say before jumping to conclusions. Remember, we represent all of humanity today. Our colonies on Kepler-7, New Dallas, and throughout the Cygnus sector are counting on us to secure our rightful place in galactic society." As Aurora docked at the shimmering berth, Jake couldn't help but feel the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. The year 2257 marked humanity's first formal audience with the Galactic Council, a meeting that would determine Earth's position in the complex political web of interstellar relations. The Central Embassy's reception hall stretched before them, a magnificent expanse of polished marble-like material and arching supports that seemed to defy gravity. Silent attendants, crystalline beings with translucent bodies, guided the human delegation through corridors adorned with artifacts from 1,000 worlds. "Look at the architectural precision," Lisa whispered, professional demeanor momentarily giving way to wonder. "Each angle, each curve seems to have mathematical significance." "Stay focused," Ben muttered. "Remember why we're here." At last, they reached the council chamber, a vast dome whose ceiling projected a perfect representation of the galaxy. Slowly rotating above the assembled delegates, Jake immediately noticed the chamber's tiered seating arrangement. Golden chairs, elevated on the highest platform for the founding species. Comfortable seats at mid-level for established members, and simple benches near the floor for what Jake assumed were newer additions to the galactic community. A single bench waited for the human delegation. Its position, lower than all others, was not lost on Jake. Speaker Zathar, a towering crystalline entity whose body refracted light into dazzling patterns, rose from the central golden chair. "The Council recognizes the human delegation from the planet Earth, a probationary species seeking formal recognition." Jake felt his jaw tighten at the word probationary, but maintained his diplomatic composure as he stepped forward. "Honored Speaker, esteemed Council members, I bring greetings from Earth and all human colonies. We come seeking mutual cooperation and peaceful exchange between our civilizations." Speaker Zathar's crystalline form shifted slightly, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the chamber walls. "Yes, cooperation. That is precisely what we wish to discuss. The Council has observed humanity's rapid expansion with interest. You have established colonies on 12 worlds in barely 2 centuries, developed artificial intelligence that borders on sentience, and built military vessels with capabilities far beyond what is appropriate for a species of your development stage. War Commander Theore, a reptilian being with metallic scales that clinked softly as he moved, leaned forward from his golden chair. "Let us dispense with pleasantries. Human. Your kind advances too quickly, without proper guidance or restraint. The harmony of galactic civilization requires that all species develop according to established patterns. Jake maintained his diplomatic smile, though it no longer reached his eyes. Commander, with respect, humanity has always charted its own course. Our innovations have allowed us to overcome the challenges of deep space travel and establish thriving colonies. Yes, your innovations, interrupted Counselor Vexty, an amorphous being whose gelatinous form pulsed with bioluminescent light. Particularly concerning is your development of adaptive AI systems capable of evolving beyond their original programming. Such technology is restricted for most established members, let alone probationary species. Speaker Zathar raised a crystalline appendage, silencing further comments. The Council has deliberated extensively on humanity's place in the galactic community. We have determined that certain conditions must be implemented to ensure proper integration. A holographic document materialized before Jake, text scrolling in multiple languages, including Earth Standard English. As he scanned the contents, his diplomatic mask began to crack. "These aren't conditions," Jake said, his voice dangerously quiet. "These are surrender terms." "A dramatic characterization," Zathar responded. "We prefer to view them as necessary guidelines for a young species." Jake read aloud, his voice growing firmer with each point. Restriction of human expansion to current colonial holdings. Submission of all AI research and existing systems for Council evaluation and possible decommission. Reduction of military vessels by 70%. Placement of Council observers on all human worlds, including Earth. Regular resource tributes to support Council operations. He looked up, meeting Zathar's faceted gaze. "This would effectively end human autonomy and reduce us to subjects of the Council. It would bring you into harmony with galactic civilization," corrected Deep Lord Kathev, a massive entity whose dark form seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Your kind lacks the perspective gained from thousands of years of stellar development. You are children, playing with technologies you barely understand." Colonel Hayes stepped forward, ignoring protocol. "Children who managed to develop quantum propulsion while your species were still deciding the optimal committee size to discuss travel regulations." "Colonel," Jake cautioned, placing a restraining hand on Ben's arm. Then, addressing the Council, "What you're asking is impossible. Humanity will not surrender its sovereignty, its security, or its future potential. We seek partnership, not subjugation." Speaker Zathar's crystalline body dimmed slightly. "Then, partnership is not possible at this time. The conditions are non-negotiable for probationary species. Your acceptance or rejection will determine whether humanity is viewed as a potential ally or a disruptive element in galactic society." Jake looked around the chamber, at the dozens of alien representatives watching from their tiered seats. Some appeared sympathetic, others indifferent, a few openly hostile. But all seemed to accept the Council's authority without question. In that moment, Jake Morrison made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Speaker Zathar, esteemed Council members," he began, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. "For 2 centuries, humanity has faced the void of space with courage and ingenuity. We have overcome isolation, radiation storms, and resource scarcity through our resilience and creativity. We came here hoping to find partners among the stars, civilizations with whom we could exchange knowledge and culture." Jake gestured to the document still floating before him. "Instead, you offer us chains. You ask us to become your experiment, to surrender the very qualities that have allowed us to survive and thrive. On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I must respectfully decline." A murmur of surprise rippled through the assembly. "You decline?" Speaker Zathar's voice carried a note of disbelief. "No probationary species has ever rejected Council guidance. Then perhaps it's time someone did, Jake replied, gathering his materials. Humanity will make its own way among the stars, on our own terms. We withdraw our petition for council recognition. War Commander Theore rose to his full imposing height. You cannot simply walk away, human. The council's will extends throughout civilized space. You will find no allies, no trading partners, no safe harbors beyond your limited territories. Jake smiled, but there was steel behind it. We'll take our chances, Commander. Better to face the unknown universe as free people than live as well-kept pets. He turned to Lisa and Ben. We're leaving. As the human delegation moved toward the chamber's exit, Speaker Zathar called out, Ambassador Morrison, reconsider your position. Without council protection, humanity stands alone against the dangers of the cosmos. Jake paused at the threshold, looking back at the assembled council. We've been alone before. It taught us how to stand on our own feet. His gaze swept the chamber one final time. Good day to you all. The massive doors closed behind the human delegation with a resonant boom that seemed to echo throughout Nexus Prime itself. Back aboard the Aurora, the atmosphere was electric with tension and uncertainty. Jake paced the conference room, his earlier composure giving way to the full weight of what they'd just done. We've effectively declared independence from the most powerful political entity in known space, Lisa said, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. The Council controls trade routes, communication relays, and has military outposts throughout the galaxy. They were never going to treat us as equals, Ben countered, arms crossed over his chest. You saw how they arranged that chamber, the literal hierarchy built into their governance. We were being offered a place at the bottom, with no hope of advancement. Jake stopped pacing, turning to face his colleagues. I need to contact President Williams immediately. The Council's response will be swift, and we need to prepare. Within minutes, a secure quantum channel was established with Earth. President Kate Williams's holographic form materialized in the conference room, her expression grave as Jake detailed the meeting's outcome. You're certain there was no room for negotiation? The president asked, after Jake had finished. None, Jake confirmed. The terms were presented as final, acceptance or rejection, with no middle ground. President Williams nodded slowly. Then you made the only choice possible. I'll convene the bicameral council immediately. We need to implement contingency plans across all colonies. Madam President, Lisa interjected, we should expect trade embargoes, communication disruptions, and possibly military demonstrations near our borders. Agreed. I'll have Admiral Cooper begin redeployment of our fleets to protect key systems. The president's holographic gaze swept across the three diplomats. You've set us on a difficult path, but a necessary one. Return to Earth as quickly as possible. We'll need your insights for what comes next. As the Aurora broke orbit from Nexus Prime, accelerating toward the nearest jump point, Jake stood at the viewport, watching the gleaming planet recede. They never expected us to say no, he murmured. 3,000 years of unchallenged authority. They've forgotten what it means to face real opposition. They'll remember soon enough, Ben said, joining him at the window. The question is, what will they do about it? Whatever it is, Jake replied, we'll be ready. Within the council chamber on Nexus Prime, an emergency session had been convened. Speaker Zathar's crystalline form pulsed with agitation as he addressed the assembled representatives. The humans' defiance is unprecedented and cannot go unanswered, he declared. If allowed to stand, other species might question council authority. War Commander Theore's metallic scales gleamed under the chamber's lights. My fleet stands ready to demonstrate the consequences of rejecting council guidance. A swift military action against one of their outer colonies would bring them back to the negotiating table, this time with proper humility. Patience, Commander, counseled Deep Lord Keth. The humans are isolated and vulnerable. Economic pressure will be more effective than military confrontation. Cut them off from established trade routes. Deny them access to advanced technology markets, and their colonies will begin to suffer. Rebellion will come from within. Speaker Zathar considered both proposals. We shall employ both strategies. Commander Theore, prepare your fleet but await specific authorization before engaging. Meanwhile, all council members are directed to cease trade and communication with human worlds immediately. Let us see how long their independence lasts when faced with the realities of galactic isolation. The council members signaled their agreement, confident that humanity would soon understand the futility of resistance. They were wrong. On Earth, President Kate Williams addressed the bicameral council, her voice firm as she outlined the situation. The Galactic Council has shown its true face. They don't want partners, they want subjects. Humanity will never accept such terms, no matter the cost. The assembled representatives, drawn from Earth and all colonial worlds, listened intently as the president continued. We've anticipated this possibility for years. It's time to implement Operation Sovereign Dawn. I'm authorizing immediate activation of all contingency protocols across human space. Admiral Patricia Lee, commander of Earth's main fleet, stepped forward to detail the military response. We're repositioning our naval assets to protect critical colonies and supply lines. The Pathfinder expedition will proceed immediately to map alternative routes through the Nebula Veil, bypassing Council-controlled space. What about our technological initiatives? Asked a representative from the Kepler-7 colony. President Williams nodded to a group of scientists waiting at the chamber's edge. Dr. Maya Patel, please update the Council on Project Quantum Whisper. A woman of Indian descent stepped forward, her eyes bright with intelligence and determination. My team has completed the prototype quantum tunnel communicator. Unlike conventional subspace relays, which can be monitored by Council technology, our system creates a direct point-to-point connection through subspace. It's completely undetectable by current Council scanning methods. Murmurs of approval spread through the chamber. Additionally, the President continued, Dr. Lisa Wong's adaptive AI research has reached a breakthrough stage. Dr. Wong, a slender woman with an air of quiet confidence, approached the podium. We've developed AI systems that can evolve in response to changing conditions and threats. Unlike the rigid, pre-programmed systems used by the Council, our AIs can learn, adapt, and create novel solutions to unexpected problems. The Council fears this technology precisely because it gives us an advantage they cannot easily counter. And our terraforming initiatives? President Williams prompted. Dr. Robert Kim, head of the Terraforming Division, took his turn. We've accelerated the New Hope project. Using our latest atmospheric processors, we can transform a marginal world into a habitable environment in months rather than decades. This will allow us to establish self-sufficient colonies in regions the Council considers uninhabitable. As the briefing continued, it became clear that humanity had been preparing for this moment. The rejection of Council authority wasn't a rash decision. It was the culmination of years of strategic planning. We face difficult times ahead. President Williams concluded, the Council will use every tool at their disposal to force our compliance. But humans have always thrived when challenged. We didn't cross the void between stars to become someone else's subjects. We will secure our independence, protect our colonies, and forge our own path in this galaxy, not as the Council's probationary species, but as architects of our own destiny. The chamber erupted in applause, united in purpose despite the daunting challenges ahead. In the months that followed, the Galactic Council's predictions of human isolation proved dramatically wrong. Rather than collapsing under pressure, humanity expanded its reach through innovative solutions and unexpected alliances. The Pathfinder expedition, led by Captain Marcus Chen, successfully charted routes through the Nebula Veil, a turbulent region of space that the Council had declared unsuitable for regular navigation. By developing specialized shielding and navigation algorithms, Human ships could now traverse the Veil safely, opening trade routes beyond Council control. Meanwhile, at Haven Point, a remote space station on the fringes of explored space, Jake Morrison was engaged in a different kind of diplomatic mission. Instead of pleading with the Council, he was meeting with representatives from various species who chafed under Council authority. "The Saurian clan has suffered under Council resource quotas for centuries," growled Krex, a fierce, furred being whose people excelled at mining operations. "We would welcome an alliance that respects our sovereignty." Jake nodded, understanding the risk Krex was taking by meeting with him. "The Commonwealth offers partnership, not domination. Your mining expertise combined with our terraforming technology could transform worlds the Council has deemed worthless. And what guarantees do we have that humans won't become the new Council once your position is secure?" asked a crystalline entity representing the Prism Worlds, a collective of silicon-based life forms. "A fair question," Jake acknowledged. "The Commonwealth Charter explicitly prohibits any member from imposing their will on others. All decisions affecting the Alliance require consensus among affected parties. No species stands above another." The Prism representative's facets glowed with cautious approval. "Your quantum tunnel communicator interests us. Our crystalline technology could enhance its range and stability." One by one, dissatisfied species began secret negotiations with humanity. The Star Wanderers, nomadic beings who navigated space through innate sensory abilities, offered their unparalleled knowledge of uncharted regions. The Saurian Federation, whose biotechnology rivaled any in known space, proposed exchanges of medical knowledge that could benefit both civilizations. What began as humanity standing alone against the Council was evolving into something the galaxy hadn't seen in millennia: a voluntary association of equals, bound by mutual respect rather than hierarchical control. On Kepler 7, Dr. Lisa Wong's adaptive AI systems were revolutionizing colony defense. When Council probe ships approached the system, automated defense platforms anticipated their scanning patterns and projected false readings, making the colony appear far less developed than it actually was. "They still think we're struggling," Lisa explained to the colonial governor as they reviewed the latest intelligence. "Meanwhile, our production capacity has increased by 30% since the embargo began." "The Council understands force and submission," the governor replied. "They have no framework for comprehending innovation driven by freedom." In the depths of the Kepler void, a region of space warped by intense gravitational anomalies, the research vessel Horizon Deep made another critical discovery. Captain Sarah Reynolds contacted Earth with barely contained excitement. "We've located a substantial deposit of quantum-resonant minerals, at least 3 times larger than any previously recorded. With these resources, we can mass-produce quantum tunnel communicators for all Commonwealth worlds." On New Hope, the first planet to undergo accelerated terraforming, Dr. Robert Kim watched with satisfaction as the atmospheric processors turned the once barren world into a garden. Lakes formed where dust storms had once raged, and engineered vegetation spread across the landscape, converting the thin atmosphere into something humans could breathe unassisted. "From barren rock to paradise in 6 months," he told the colonization team. The Council would have taken decades to achieve the same result, and then claimed ownership of the planet as payment. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was becoming increasingly alarmed by reports from across the galaxy. Speaker Zathar convened emergency sessions as intelligence filtered in about humanity's unexpected resilience and growing network of allies. "How are they bypassing our trade restrictions?" demanded Counselor Vexti, gelatinous form rippling with agitation. War Commander Theori slammed a scaled fist on the Council table. "They've charted routes through the Nebula Veil, routes our navigators declared impossible, and they're not alone. The Saurians have increased shipments to human worlds. The Star Wanderers are guiding their vessels through uncharted space." "More concerning," added Deep Lord Caith, is their technological progress. Our intelligence suggests they've developed communication systems that evade our monitoring network. We can no longer track their transmissions between colonies. Speaker Zathar's crystalline form dimmed with concern. This defiance cannot continue. Commander Theore, you have authorization to proceed with military action. Target the human colony at New Dallas. It's primarily agricultural, with minimal defenses. A decisive strike will demonstrate the consequences of rejecting Council authority. War Commander Theore's metallic scales gleamed with anticipation. I shall assemble a fleet immediately. The humans will learn that independence comes at a price they cannot afford to pay. The Council's confidence remained unshaken. After all, what could a young, isolated species possibly do against the combined might of civilizations that had ruled the stars for millennia? The answer came at the Battle of New Dallas. War Commander Theore led a fleet of 30 Council warships into the New Dallas system, expecting minimal resistance from the agricultural colony. What he found instead was Captain Eddie Nelson commanding a defense force of 12 human vessels, equipped with technologies the Council had never encountered. "Target the lead vessel," Nelson ordered from the bridge of the Defender Resolute. "Let's show the Council what adaptive warfare looks like." As the Council fleet formed into a traditional combat wedge, a formation unchanged for centuries, the human ships executed a series of seemingly random maneuvers that confounded Theore's tactical computers. "They're breaking formation," reported Theore's second-in-command, dispersing in a non-standard pattern. "Irrelevant," Theore dismissed. "No 12 ships can withstand our coordinated firepower. Commence primary attack sequence." The Council fleet fired in perfect unison, at targets that were no longer there. Dr. Lisa Wong's adaptive AI had analyzed centuries of Council battle records and predicted their attack patterns with uncanny accuracy. The human ships had moved precisely where the Council vessels wouldn't fire. "Phase 2, ordered Captain Nelson. "Quantum shadow deployment." From the human vessels, clouds of microscopic drones swarmed toward the Council fleet, too small for their defensive systems to target effectively. These drones attached to the hulls of the Council ships and began transmitting conflicting sensor data, causing their targeting systems to malfunction. Confused, and suddenly fighting blind, the Council fleet's perfect formation began to break down. Theore watched in growing alarm as his ships fired at phantom targets or, worse, at each other. "Impossible," he hissed, metallic scales standing on end. "Their technology is primitive. Their tactics are adaptive," finished his second-in-command grimly. "They're not fighting according to any recognized doctrine. Each ship seems to be creating its own strategy in real time." Captain Nelson allowed himself a tight smile as he gave his next order. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderclap." The 12 human vessels suddenly accelerated toward the heart of the Council fleet, firing precision strikes at weak points in their defenses. Shields collapsed under concentrated fire, and engines failed as quantum resonance torpedoes disrupted their power systems. Within 40 minutes, 8 Council warships had been disabled or destroyed. The remainder, including War Commander Theore's flagship, retreated in disarray. News of the battle spread rapidly through Commonwealth quantum networks. A supposedly inferior human colony had stood against the Council's military might and emerged victorious. Throughout human space and beyond, the implications were clear. The age of Council dominance was ending. On Nexus Prime, the Council chamber had lost its atmosphere of serene authority. Representatives argued heatedly about the New Dallas debacle and its meaning for galactic stability. "One defeat does not end our supremacy," Speaker Zathar insisted, though his crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "We must respond with overwhelming force. The humans and their allies must be reminded of the consequences of defiance." Deep Lord Keith's dark form seemed to absorb the chamber's light as he spoke. "The humans' victory has emboldened others. The Cygnus sector, 12 star systems with valuable mineral resources, has declared independence from Council authority and requested Commonwealth protection. "Unacceptable!" War Commander Theore roared, still smarting from his humiliation at New Dallas. "I will personally lead our main battle fleet to crush this rebellion. 200 ships will demonstrate our resolve and end this Commonwealth delusion once and for all." Speaker Zathar's facets gleamed in agreement. "Prepare your fleet, Commander. The Council has maintained order for 3,000 years. We will not allow it to crumble, because one species refuses to accept its proper place." As Council shipyards hummed with activity, preparing the massive fleet that would reassert their authority, they remained unaware that their every communication was being monitored through quantum tunnel technology. The Commonwealth knew precisely what was coming. At Haven Point, representatives from 47 species, former council members and previously unaligned civilizations, gathered to formalize the Commonwealth Charter. Jake Morrison, now serving as Commonwealth Coordinator, addressed the assembled delegates. "The Council believes that order can only come through submission," he told them. "We believe that true stability comes from cooperation among equals. Each of us brings unique strengths to this alliance. Together, we represent not just resistance to Council tyranny, but a new vision for galactic civilization." The Star Wanderer delegate, a being of shifting energies contained within a specialized environmental suit, spoke next. "Our scouts have confirmed the Council's preparations. Their fleet gathers at Nexus Gate, preparing to strike at the Cygnus sector. They mean to make an example of those who would join the Commonwealth." Admiral Frank Cooper, commander of the Commonwealth Fleet, stepped forward. His weathered face betrayed no concern at the overwhelming odds they faced. "The Council expects us to meet their force with a similar formation. A traditional space battle. They believe their superior numbers will win. We will not oblige them." He activated a holographic display showing the Cygnus Gate, the heavily defended entry point to the sector. "Instead, we will execute Operation Avalanche. Using the combined technologies and unique abilities of our diverse alliance, we will demonstrate that imagination and adaptability trump brute force every time." As the Commonwealth prepared its defense of the Cygnus sector, Dr. Maya Patel's quantum tunnel communicators enabled instantaneous coordination between widely dispersed forces. Dr. Lisa Wong's adaptive AI systems simulated countless battle scenarios, identifying the approach most likely to succeed against the Council's rigid tactics. On the eve of battle, Admiral Cooper addressed the crews of the 47 Commonwealth vessels gathered at Cygnus Gate, a force barely a quarter the size of the approaching Council armada. "Tomorrow, we face the full might of an empire that has dominated the galaxy for 3 millennia," he told them. "They expect us to tremble before their power. They expect us to break under their assault." His voice hardened. "They will be disappointed." The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, 200 warships arranged in concentric rings around War Commander Theore's massive flagship. Inevitable victory. The sight was meant to inspire awe and despair in equal measure. "Commonwealth vessels detected," reported Theore's tactical officer. 47 ships of mixed configuration, primitive formation. They appear to be waiting. Theore's metallic scales rippled with satisfaction. "As expected, open a channel. Let us offer them one final chance to surrender before we obliterate them." Admiral Cooper's weathered face appeared on the command deck's main screen. Theore noted with annoyance that the human showed no sign of fear. "This is your only warning," Theore declared. "Return the Cygnus sector to Council authority and disband your illegal Commonwealth. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your fleet and all who stand with you." Cooper's expression remained calm. "We've heard the Council's demands before. Commander, our answer remains the same. The peoples of the Cygnus sector have chosen freedom, and the Commonwealth stands with them." Theore terminated the transmission with a disgusted gesture. "Commence attack pattern Sigma. Show no mercy." As the Council fleet began its advance, Admiral Cooper gave a single command. "Execute Operation Avalanche." What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. First, the Star Wanderer vessels, virtually invisible to Council sensors due to their unique energy signatures, darted forward, navigating through the defensive minefield the Council had deployed. Instead of detonating or disarming these mines, they precisely repositioned them using tractor beams, creating a gauntlet that would funnel the Council fleet into a narrower formation. Next, ships from the Prism worlds activated their crystalline hull technology, bending light around the Commonwealth fleet in patterns that confused Council targeting systems. What had appeared to be 47 vessels in a standard formation was suddenly revealed to be a complex, three-dimensional deployment optimized for crossfire opportunities. As the Council fleet pressed forward, now committed to their attack vector, Commonwealth vessels opened fire from multiple angles simultaneously. Each ship targeted specific weaknesses in Council vessel design, weaknesses identified by Dr. Lisa Wong's adaptive AI through analysis of debris from the Battle of New Dallas. War Commander Theoray watched in growing horror as precision strikes disabled ship after ship. Impossible! How can they know exactly where to target? The situation deteriorated further when, deep within the Council formation, several ships suddenly powered down their weapons and raised shields with a different energy signature, the Commonwealth recognition pattern. "Commander!" Theoray's tactical officer cried in disbelief. "The Hegemony Cruiser Dominator and 12 other vessels are signaling surrender to Commonwealth forces. They're defecting." On the bridge of the Dominator, General Vexroy addressed his crew. "For generations, the Hegemony have served the Council loyally. In return, our homeworld has been stripped of resources, our people treated as second-class citizens. Today, we choose a different path, one where all species stand as equals." The defections spread like wildfire through the Council fleet. Ships whose worlds had suffered under Council rule saw the opportunity to break free from millennia of subjugation. What had begun as a military operation was becoming a political revolution. War Commander Theoray, watching his perfect formation disintegrate, made a desperate decision. "All loyal vessels, concentrate fire on the Commonwealth flagship. Cut off the head, and the body will die." 60 Council ships, all that remained reliably under Theoray's command, directed their firepower at Admiral Cooper's vessel. The Commonwealth flagship's shields blazed under the assault, weakening with each impact. "Shields at 27%, reported Cooper's tactical officer. "We can't withstand this level of concentrated fire for long." Cooper nodded calmly. "We don't need to signal final phase." From the edges of the battlefield, previously undetected, Commonwealth vessels suddenly decloaked. Advanced ships utilizing Sarian biotechnology that mimicked the background radiation of space itself. These fresh vessels struck the Council formation from behind, targeting propulsion systems rather than weapons. Caught in a perfect three-dimensional crossfire, with defections continuing to spread through their ranks, the Council fleet's advantage evaporated. After 3 hours of battle, 60 Council ships had been destroyed or disabled, and 47 had defected to the Commonwealth. The remainder, including Theoray's damaged flagship, retreated toward Nexus Prime. The Battle of Cygnus Gate marked the beginning of the end for Council dominance. News of the victory spread rapidly through quantum networks, inspiring further defections and declarations of independence across the galaxy. Systems that had chafed under Council rule for centuries saw an opportunity for freedom and seized it. On Earth, President Williams addressed a jubilant bicameral council. The Commonwealth now includes over 100 worlds and 43 species. What began as humanity's stand for independence has become a galactic movement for freedom and mutual respect. At Nexus Prime, the council chamber was half empty. Many representatives had withdrawn to join the Commonwealth, leaving only the most loyal or fearful species still supporting the old order. Speaker Zathar's once brilliant crystalline form had dulled with stress and uncertainty. "We must negotiate with the Commonwealth," he admitted reluctantly. "Our military option has failed. Our economic sanctions have proven ineffective. We must salvage what influence we can. Deep Lord Kaith's dark form seemed to collapse inward with resignation. The galaxy has changed, Speaker. Perhaps it is time for the Council to change with it. 3 months after the Battle of Cygnus Gate, a Commonwealth fleet arrived at Nexus Prime. Unlike the Council's rigid formations, this fleet represented the diversity of the new alliance. Human ships flew alongside Sarian biocruisers, Star Wanderer scouts, and vessels from dozens of formerly subjugated species. Jake Morrison, Lisa Carter, and Colonel Ben Hayes, now Admiral Hayes, commander of Earth's Defense Forces, returned to the Council chamber where their journey had begun. This time, they didn't sit on the lowest bench. They stood tall before Speaker Zathar and the remnants of his once mighty council. The Commonwealth controls most major trade routes and strategic resources. Jake informed them without preamble. Over 200 worlds have joined our alliance, with more requesting membership daily. The era of council dominance is over. Speaker Zathar's crystalline structure seemed to age visibly as he spoke. What does the Commonwealth want? Reparations? Territorial concessions? The complete dissolution of the Council? Jake shook his head. We're not here to impose terms, Speaker. That's the Council's way, not ours. We're here to inform you that the galaxy now operates under new principles: voluntary association, mutual respect, and collaborative progress. The Council is welcome to continue existing, but its authority now extends only to those worlds that freely choose to remain under its governance. And how many is that? Lisa asked quietly. Speaker Zathar didn't answer directly. You've dismantled a system of order that stood for 3,000 years. What will you replace it with? Freedom, Jake replied simply. The right of every species to determine its own destiny. The opportunity for all civilizations to contribute their unique strengths to our shared future. As they prepared to leave, Speaker Zathar posed a final question. Can order truly exist without hierarchy, without clear authority? Jake paused at the threshold of the chamber, the same spot where, months earlier, he had made the decision that changed everything. We believe it can, Speaker, and we intend to prove it. 1 year after humanity walked away from the peace talks, the Commonwealth celebrated its formal establishment at New Geneva Station, a massive space habitat constructed at the intersection of major trade routes. Representatives from over 200 worlds and 43 species gathered to ratify the Commonwealth Charter. President Kate Williams addressed the assembled delegates. A year ago, humanity stood alone against a power that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. We faced isolation, embargo, and military threat. Today, we stand together as equals, having proven that freedom is not granted by distant authorities. It is claimed by those brave enough to demand it. The Charter established a governance system unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Decision-making was distributed rather than centralized, with issues resolved by those directly affected. Technology and knowledge were freely shared among member worlds. Military forces served defensive purposes only, protecting trade routes and responding to natural disasters. What remained of the Galactic Council controlled just a handful of core systems, its influence waning as more worlds chose Commonwealth membership. The golden chairs in the Council chamber, once symbols of unassailable authority, now stood empty most days, relics of a fading era. In a classroom on New Hope, children from a dozen species listened as their teacher explained the galactic redefinition, the series of events that began when humanity walked away from the Council's demands. It wasn't just about humans standing up for themselves, the teacher explained. It was about challenging the idea that order requires submission. The Commonwealth proved that cooperation among equals creates stronger bonds than any system of dominance. A young Star Wanderer student raised a glowing appendage. But what happens next? There's still so much unexplored space. The teacher smiled. That's for your generation to discover. The galaxy is open now in ways it hasn't been for thousands of years. New species, new worlds, new possibilities await those brave enough to seek them out. As the Commonwealth fleet expanded its exploration beyond known space, Jake Morrison often reflected on the moment that changed everything, the decision to walk away, rather than accept terms that would have diminished humanity's potential. "We never needed the Council's permission to reach for the stars," he told Lisa, as they watched a holographic display of newly discovered systems beyond the former Council boundaries. "We just needed the courage to chart our own course." Lisa nodded, her hand finding his. "And in doing so, we freed countless others to do the same." Together, they watched as vessels from dozens of species departed New Geneva Station, heading toward unexplored regions of the galaxy. Some sought resources, others knowledge, still others simply the thrill of discovery. But all moved forward under the same principle that had guided humanity's defiance: the right to determine their own destiny. In the vastness of space, the light of these pioneers spread outward like stars themselves, not arranged in rigid hierarchies, but forming constellations of possibility that would illuminate the galaxy for generations to come.